Walking. We all do it. I do it. You do it. Your parents do it. Your neighbor does it. Hell, even your neighbor's dog does it. That being, of course, if you are physically able to walk. But what is it about walking that makes it such a good option when we're feeling down? Why is it that when we feel down, we feel the need to go on a peaceful stroll? Why is it that when we're feeling anxious, we feel the need to pace about and walk really fast? What is it about walking that's really good at balancing out our natural mental state? And well, the answer to that is mindfulness. So let's talk about it, and let's talk about, well, how else we can make our walks all that more mindful. Hey, you found me. My name is Anu, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And in this video, I wanted to talk about walking. So I made a blog post recently about different ways to be mindful that don't really require you to go off of your daily habits too much, or that pretty much anyone can do. And first on that list was walking. That blog post, by the way, will be linked in the description. But first on that list was walking. And this video, basically, I wanted to talk about why walking is so mindful, what the research says about it, what the benefits of it are towards being mindful, what the negatives of it are towards being mindful, and I guess at the end I'll probably be ranking different types of walking.
Hey yo, what the?
That sounds weird, but I promise you there are different types of walking and you definitely have not thought about them yet. So stay tuned till the end and we'll go through all of that in this video. And for those of you who are physically unable to walk due to a physical disability or whatever reason, don't feel left out. This video I think will also apply to you, just instead of walking it'll be more so about moving your wheelchair, either by using your hands, your fingers, or by blowing, whichever one you use. I think the content should still apply to you, but I'll let you be the judge of that because I myself wouldn't know. Alright, so to start off this video, I'm not going to undermine your intelligence and go over what walking is. I know that you know very well what walking is, so I'm not going to waste any more of your time and we're going to go straight into the research. Why is walking so mindful? Alright, so the research presented in front of you here basically says that walking creates an environment which is a naturally good opportunity to be mindful. What they mean by this basically is that when you're walking, you can focus on the sensation of taking steps. You can listen around for the sounds around you, you can watch where you're going, and obviously look around as well. And that's focusing on your senses, obviously focusing on your breathing too. And you can do all that without feeling overwhelmed in a way. You're not using too much of your, I guess, cognitive load. And that allows you to sort of be mindful while walking. Now, that doesn't mean that just walking will naturally make you mindful. It's about what you do while you're walking. And that's where you get into mindfulness. And let's talk about it a little further than that. Now, another cool thing about mindfulness is the abundance of research we have across different age groups. So there is research that shows that walking is beneficial for children, and that it's beneficial for elderly people, and even in adults, like older adults, I guess. It's good against preventing cognitive decline. And by that, they mean as you get older, you eventually sort of become dumber. Not dumber, but you lose some of your cognitive capacity, and it helps prevent that decline. So in a nutshell, it helps to keep your brain young, active, and keeps it functioning well. You can think of it from the point of like dementia or Alzheimer's, where as people get older, they start to lose their memory, which is a horrible thing to happen to anyone. And basically, walking might help against developing that. Now, there's probably a ton of research out on that already. I just didn't go looking for it, so I don't have it for you. But if you want to, you can look into that yourself. Okay, so what are the benefits of using walking to be more mindful? And the first one is that it helps your thoughts to flow very well. And what I mean by this is, if you've seen my last video, if you haven't, check up there. But basically in my last video I talked about one of the first steps to being more mindful is to let your thoughts flow and let them out. And walking does a great job of that, because you just go on a walk and you will think inevitably, as long as you don't take any distractions with you. And so it's a great way of building the habit of letting your thoughts flow and letting them out. So that's the first one. The second benefit to walking to be mindful is that it's easy, right? For mindfulness, there's loads of guides for meditation or these therapies or whatever else is out there, and you know, if something needs a guide, then it's probably not that easy. But no one gives you a guide for walking. At least I haven't seen one. So you just do it. So it's something that's relatively easy. Again, for the people who are not physically able to walk, you move. But it's not something that you need a guide for. You just go out and do it, and eventually you'll figure out what helps you be more mindful and what doesn't. Another thing that is a benefit to walking is that it is easy to variate. And what I mean by that is you can always change your location. You can do it anywhere, right? You could be on holidays and you'll still be able to walk. You could be at home. You could decide, hey, today I went on that route yesterday, I'm going to go on a different route this week. We say route, but it is what it is. And the final one is that I guess it's you can do it at any time. And what I mean by that is it could be morning, evening, night, or day. You could be crazy and you could go out for a walk at midnight. You could also be normal and go out for a walk at 4 p.m. and it doesn't really...
A few moments later.
Yeah. You can do it at any time and it should still be beneficial. And once you get into the habit of being mindful while walking, you know, it's just something that you can just rely on all the time. So it's a very reliable way of training yourself to be mindful. Okay, so what are the downsides of using walking as a way to be more mindful? And to be honest, there weren't many, so it was hard to find some. But let's go over the ones I did find anyways. The first one is that it is kind of easy to be distracted, especially if you take distractions with you. Nowadays, a lot of people go on walks with their phone, and it's absolutely fine to take your phone, but using your phone on a walk isn't going to be very mindful. As well as that, a lot of people like to listen to music, and that is very enjoyable, and absolutely, you should listen to music if you want to enjoy your walk. But I wouldn't call that being mindful either, because you're putting sounds, lyrics, and which will eventually make thoughts and put thoughts into your mind that you didn't need to put in. They don't really help you to get rid of, to kind of clear your mind. They kind of add stuff into your mind rather than just listening to the sounds around you and letting any thoughts out. They're kind of putting lyrics in and you're kind of cluttering your mind while also freeing it up. It doesn't make that much of a difference. It is something small, and if you're okay with being a little less mindful and listening to music just so that you enjoy it, absolutely go with it. That's completely fine. But it is easy to be distracted. Also, if you're in a city, something might happen across the road, or you might find someone that you know, and that might stop your flow of the thoughts that you're letting out. So yes, it is somewhat easy to be distracted compared to some of the other ones, but they're completely fine. Alright, downside number 2. Surprise, surprise, there's more than one. Yeah, it's already been mentioned, but the second downside to walking is that it might be weather reliant, or it could just be dependent on your area too. Now what I mean by that is your area might not be safe to go out for a walk, especially at certain hours, but you also might not have the infrastructure, the right infrastructure, what I mean, because everywhere has a path or a road or somewhere to walk at least. But what I mean is a lot of countries aren't really designed to promote walking. They don't have big paths, and it's not really safe to walk on the side of the road, especially if there's a lot of traffic around. So, and it's usually the case outside of Europe. Now I live inside Europe, so it's a little difficult for me to wrap my head around it, but it can be the case, and I only noticed it when I went outside of Europe. And a lot of countries don't really promote walking as a natural means of getting from A to B. Also, it could be weather reliant, especially if you live in a country like Ireland, where it rains all the time, and you just have to be like, okay, I'm putting on my raincoat. If it rains, it rains. It is what it is. But it can be weather reliant. If you can get over that, and maybe if you can find a good area to go for a walk, maybe you drive to a certain area and you have different routes from there. You can walk up different hikes and whatnot. If you have that option, then yeah, it's absolutely fine. It's not really a downside, but it can be a downside, especially if you don't have the resources to go very far. Okay, the final downside to walking for your mindfulness is that some people might find it boring or not as productive. Like if you take the other activities I mentioned in my blog post, you'll notice that walking, well, it's not really productive because it doesn't really make anything, but the only reward you get from walking is that you get that mindful state of mind and nothing else really. Like for cooking, you'd get this delicious food to enjoy, or with gardening, you'd have a lovely garden to look at or show off. And with walking, you don't really have that. At the same time, some people might find it boring, especially without music. So that's a totally understandable way to go about it. And I know I just showed that, hey, it's a very consistent way of being mindful, so it's probably a good thing to make a habit. But it's not something I would personally make a habit about because I would get very bored very quickly, and that habit wouldn't last very long. So in that sense, I can understand if you want to use it. It's a great way, but I can also understand why you wouldn't want to use it. And you don't have to just rely on walking to be mindful. There are a ton of other ways to be mindful, just like the blog post shows you. And we will be discussing them in future videos, so if you want to see those, just hit the subscribe button. And with that being said, let's go into ranking different types of walking. But before I do that, I think I need to explain what the different types of walking are. Okay, different types of walking. Anu, are you crazy? No, just hear me out and then you'll understand too. Now with walking, there are a few different types of environments or ways of walking that will impact how mindful it will help you to be. So let's take, for example, walking in nature versus walking in the city. Of course, walking in nature will be far more easy in terms of being able to be mindful, where the city is filled with different distractions and something could happen here or there, or you might bump into someone and all of a sudden all that flow that you built up is gone. But it doesn't mean that walking in a built up urban area is a bad thing, because a lot of times when I walk in an urban area, I feel pretty mindful. You can just listen to the sounds of the cars passing by, you can hear people talking, the birds making noise. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, nature is better than an urban area, but it will be significantly easier to be more mindful in a natural environment that isn't like a city. On top of that, then you have, like, I guess, music, the biggest one that we've been talking about today. You can go without music, you can go with music. Again, like I've just shown, that with music is probably a little less mindful, but if you want to enjoy your walk, you may as well take it with you. So there's that. Another situation I want you to consider is walking fast versus walking slow. And you would think that walking fast might help you to clear out your thoughts faster and maybe help you if you're thinking at the speed that you're walking, but I would advise against that because walking fast might induce anxiety, and my theory behind it is that you're imitating pacing, so your bodily sensations will impact the way you're feeling, thus inducing anxiety into you and obviously increasing your heart rate and whatever. But walking slow will also, on the other hand, give you that sort of sense of calm, and you get a lot more time to think of the thoughts and let them out, and you get a lot more time to feel the sensation of walking, just overall helping you to be a lot more mindful. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will be more mindful, but it does create a better opportunity to be mindful. And I guess the last thing you can consider is whether you're going to do this alone or whether you're going to do this with a group of friends. Now, to be honest, I don't think doing this with friends will be mindful at all, but it absolutely could be, I think, if you and your friends are not really talking. If it's like a hike, sometimes difficult hikes, you don't really say a lot, you just walk and you're just focusing on your breathing. That can be quite mindful, and just having their company with you might also just add to feeling calm, and it might be safer as well for you. So absolutely, if it is an option, you can. It might require your friends to be on the same page as you, but that's not something a little bit of communication can't solve. As well as that, if you're talking to your friends, it might help to clear thoughts, but usually that's not the case. Anytime I talk to my friends, more and more random stuff comes up, so it's probably not the case. But it can be. I don't really know, so I'm probably gonna put it a little different on my rankings. But of course, being solo will give you the most possibility of being able to be mindful, no distractions, no like possibility for distractions is the thing that I'm using here, because your friends can't distract you if they're not there. So there should be nothing getting in the way of your flow and your thoughts and your mindfulness. So yeah, so now let's get to ranking them. Alright, so first on our rankings would be walking slowly in nature by yourself with no music. Following that would be walking in an urban environment slowly, no music, and by yourself. After that, I would say, and keeping them two in that order, you would have nature and urban again, but this time you would add in music. And then after music, you'd put in walking fast. Then after walking fast, you'd put in friends. So that would be the order of like how mindful it'll help you to be. That doesn't necessarily mean that if you're walking with friends in an urban area with music and walking fast, that you're not going to be as mindful as someone who is solo in nature, slowly going by themselves. But it will be a lot easier for that person in nature to be more mindful than it will be for you to be while you're with your friends in an urban area. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if it was necessary to put that in there, but I thought, hey, it might help give you a list of things that you can consider when you're going on a walk to help it make it more mindful or help make it less mindful if that really matters to you. But yeah. Okay, in summary, we talked about walking and why walking is so mindful and what the research said that, hey, it benefits all these different age groups and, well, it can help prevent against cognitive decline. We also looked at the benefits of walking in terms of being mindful, such as, you know, it's easy to build a habit of letting your thoughts flow when you go walking, and how it can be easy to do anywhere at any time. And then the downsides of walking being it could be easy to be distracted. Some people might see it as being boring, or it might be reliant on the weather or where you live. As well as that, we kind of went into ranking different walking types, such as, you know, walking in nature versus walking in an urban area, having music, having no music, walking slowly, walking fast, or even just going solo or with friends. And we took them all into consideration, and I think hopefully that should help you to make that decision when you're going for a walk, that, hey, how am I going to make this more mindful? And that's all I really wanted to do with this video. So if you stuck around till the end, thank you. I appreciate you for checking out my video, and I will see you in the next one.